Andy Johnson, Minnesota State University. Today, we're looking at teaching towards an academic standard, and this is an example of teaching letter sounds, how you use the elements of effective instruction for direct and explicit instruction. Very direct and very explicit instruction and what that means. So, the goal is to teach the long O and OW phoneme-grapheme connection. The long O phoneme, that's the sound, O, and the grapheme is the letter or letters that represent that sound. So I am trying to teach that letter-sound connection. I guess that's a fancy way. So this is one of the academic standards from a second grade reading curriculum. It's one of the Minnesota state standards for second grade. So step one is to select or identify a phoneme-grapheme letter sound. Okay, we can't teach all of them in a single lesson, so we have to find one. And what I do when I'm teaching grapheme phonemes, first I start with, okay, what the heck is it? Here's all the phonemes. Phonemes mean sounds, sound, sound, sound. And here are the graphemes or letter patterns. And I decided I'm going to choose just one, that OA, yes, and I'm going to use the OW grapheme to teach that. And to generate a list of words, I have this consonant and beginning consonant blends. What I do with the OW, O, I just start looking for letters. Bo, do, fo, go, lo, lo, mo, no, po, ro, sto, to. That's how I get words to use to teach examples or exemplars if they're called. So I have done that. I'm generating a list of long O, OW words. And I have to make sure they're in a second grader's vocabulary when I generate these lists of words. So I use the consonant blend chart. When I'm teaching this initially, I want to use only 3 and 4 letter words because I'm focusing just on that phoneme-grapheme connection, that letter sound. So the goal is to get 8 or 10 words for this lesson, and words that might be common for an 8-year-old, that an 8-year-old of a variety of circumstances might know, and throw out any confusing words like bow and bow. That could be a little confusing, and toe, because I just want to focus on the long O, OW, that phoneme-grapheme connection. So I got rid of like some words that I didn't think needed to be there. I want to keep instruction short. I believe in direct and explicit instruction. It's not the what of direct instruction, it's the how and the how much of direct instruction. So the goal is not to do my lesson. The goal is for students to begin to be able to recognize that letter pattern when they're reading. The brain is a pattern recognition machine. That's how it has evolved. So we are strengthening neural pathways more than we are teaching reading. And I'll show you what the teaching element is. But keep instruction short. So here's my purpose statement. Students will learn to recognize words with the long O, OW letter sound, or phoneme-grapheme. The input part, and these are the elements of effective instruction. Purpose statement input is everything that you will say or do. That's included in the input part of a lesson. Keep it simple, keep it simple. So a note to myself, 3 words on the board. I'll ask students, what's the same? There's something the same here. What is it? And then I'll say, today we're going to look at some more long O words. And I'll show the OW on the board and make lots of O sounds. Sometimes OW makes the O sound. O, and I'll show them examples. There is my direct instruction. That's it. That is the instruction right there, that little bit. So direct instruction took about 5 seconds to 10 seconds. Everything else is a review of that or is to reinforce that. But that is the bit of instruction right there. Let's read through these together. And here are these words on the board. We'd read through them together, maybe once or twice when they got to be fluent. Then I do skip the word where I go skip around and we'd have lots of fun. We point to different words in different orders and we do it faster or slower. Okay, I'm reinforcing that initial bit of direct and explicit instruction that I did up there. And to reinforce even more, I like to get young students physically involved. I'd have a wiggle game. When I say the word, you have to wiggle that body part. Low, and they'd wiggle their hand. No, they'd wiggle their knee, elbow. You get the idea. And if I really wanted to have fun, and I do, maybe I'd pick a couple students and we'd create a dance. I'd go low, low, bow, low, low, slow. You get the idea. We're having fun. We're reinforcing letter sounds and getting them physically involved. Other games I could include, not in the same lesson, but we could do a riddle game. I'm thinking of an O word. It means not to go fast. I'm thinking of an O word. Oh, it's very cold. Mime games where you whisper a word and they have to use their body to get someone to guess what that word is. Lots of games. We're reinforcing the OW, long O, OW, letter sound connection, or phoneme-grapheme connection. There's got to be a better way of saying that. All right, that was the input. That is the input going in, like I'm typing input on the computer. Guided practice is something you do together. And the key word is scaffolding with a gradual release of responsibility, meaning that you do it all together in large group. You gradually release some of that structure, that scaffolding. They may do it with a partner, and then they do it individually, and I can walk around and see who is getting it and who is not. This is where worksheets are used. There's nothing wrong with a worksheet. Worksheets can be effective tools. Any tool's effectiveness is determined by how it is used. But again, the goal is not to do the worksheet. The goal is to raise sensitivity to the OW grapheme, to strengthen those neural pathways. So when students are reading, they instantly recognize words with the OW grapheme in, or when they come across a word they do not know, they can use that as a word identification strategy, something you consciously employ. Is there any part of that word that I recognize? Oh, I recognize the OW. It sometimes make the O sound. That's word identification. So gradual responsibility. We do the first two together. The second they do with a partner. The third one they do independently. And I could walk around. And we're going to be looking at some types of worksheets below. And again, you do the first two together, the next two with a partner, and the last two by yourself. And I'm able to use formative assessment to see if students are getting it as learning is forming. If you didn't want to do worksheets, you could do riddles. Ask them the riddle, they'd write it on thinking paper, and then you would write the answer on the board. They could do it with a buddy, and then they could do it by themselves. All right, independent practice should be practice of what is already learned. If we're doing our job as teachers, students should be able to succeed with a 95 to 100% success ratio. Homework, independent practice, is not the place to challenge students. We don't use it to grade them. We use it to practice learning, to reinforce what has been learned. Now again, there's nothing wrong with a worksheet. It's how it is used. You want to keep it short, 2 to 5 minutes at the most. Again, it's practice of what has been learned. The purpose really is to practice reading. In a perfect reading class, 20 to 30% would be skills instruction. 70 to 80% would be practice reading. Self-selected, sustained, silent reading. That would be the ideal. Not to do your stinking worksheet. All right? A worksheet is a tool to a greater end. It's not an end in and of itself. I could have them do a worksheet. I could have them write in a journal using a word with an O sound. When I grow up, I will be. And they'd write the sentence and complete it in their journal or reading log. And then they'd show us a picture. They could do some sentence practicing with a partner. give a list to students. They sit with a partner and they practice reading it, and a partner watches and helps. Then they change roles. And as a teacher, I can listen in as this is happening. And I like to use target words. You see the O target words there, but as many sight words as I can as well to make it easy. I don't want them to be sounding out words they don't know. I want to use sight words so I can focus on the target, which is the OW target. Sentence strip is another idea, and you're going to use only one of these, but you create individual sentences for each sentence, mix them up and partner read, or I could read the sentence and they would have to find it. Sentence puzzles work in pair. Cut them into individual words, and I would start just with 3 sentences. Mix them up. I'd read a sentence and they'd have to find the words and put it in order. Sentence puzzle. OW bingo. 4x4 cards. I would write OW words on the board and they would choose the square and write them anywhere they want. We'd draw, they'd put their little penny on their word, and we'd play bingo. Total lesson time, 4 to no more than 10 minutes. Somewhere down the line, I do assessment, but not after this one because they didn't master it after a single lesson. Running records or maze or other types of simple documentation. All right, I just wanted to show you some possible types of lesson plans. Okay. Possible types of worksheets. O sound, snow, row, grow. Circle the right word. Okay, here's an O, but it makes the ow sound, so I would not include this. That would not be used. O words again, word box there. They write it by the picture. Okay, those are good. Rainbow, slow, flow, good. You write it, correct one. Yep, those are all good. Word bank, anything like this to reinforce. I would not use this one because cow, it makes the ow sound, and that's not what I'm teaching. I'm teaching the O sound, okay? With this one, I would maybe use it down the line, but it confuses them because I'm doing 2 other different long O sounds. I'd want to focus just on one. Read and draw, write the word. I like this. These are all good. So these are all good worksheets. All right, this is the elements of effective skills instruction. This is how I would go about teaching an academic standard related to a phoneme-grapheme connection. Keep it short, keep it explicit. Remember, the actual and explicit instruction took about 5 seconds. All right, it's right up here. OW sometimes makes the long O sound. O, that's the instruction right there. Everything else is reinforcement and practice of that bit of direct instruction.